Get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. Merry Christmas to all you guys. I think I'm only going to do one episode today, but I definitely have to get something out, of course, especially with this odd episode. We got Joe Rogan talking about something that just popped up. Two quick clips here. Just something about kids for cash. And when I heard that, I was like, what is that? And Joe seemed pretty shaken about it. Tim Dillon as well, very serious about it, not usual for him. So I was like, let me delve into that. So I'm going to be showing you two quick Joe Rogan clips. Then we're going to delve into this whole thing of kids for cash, because apparently one of these judges, both of these judges, should remain in jail forever. That's just my thinking. But one of them is being pardoned by Biden. Very, very interesting. Don't know why he would do that. Doesn't make any sense in my opinion, but we're going to cover this whole thing. You're going to hear about what Kids for Cash actually is in terms of this judge and what he was doing. And then we are going to play a little clip of one of the mothers who actually ended up losing their son. So I'm just going to be showing you that, her reaction to the pardon and everything. I know I'm wearing that hat. It demands respect just the same as the yellow hat. Let's get into it.
FBI.
Right.
At least 26.
There.
That were there. At least.
That entered.
The whole thing is nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
But also, if you had a real insurrection, wouldn't you want the FBI to be there? I mean, if you had a real group of armed militia that wanted to take over the Capitol, and they had plans, and they had armored cars, and they had heat style.
Sure.
You would want someone in that group to tell you what was going on, but that wasn't the case.
No.
That was not the case.
But you also have photos and videos of people opening the doors of the Capitol.
Fist bumping people.
Come on in.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you where the gavel gets handed.
That's very strange.
Yeah. The
That's
whole
odd.
thing's nuts. And there's people that have been in jail with no trial for years now. For years.
Right.
And there's this crazy opposition to pardoning those people, but no outrage about the people that Biden has pardoned, including that Kids for Cash judge.
I sent you that. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That judge and people whose children committed suicide because they were in that prison have spoken out and said this guy is directly responsible in their estimation for my son's death because he was taking bribes to give these kids crazy sentences. And some of these kids developed, crazy psychological problems and took their own lives. So
just imagine if you didn't do anything wrong
and
this guy railroads you into a juvenile detention center.
It's evil. And then Joe Biden lets him out of jail.
Yeah.
Pardons him, commutes his sentence, whatever.
So just look at things with balance, folks.
Right.
For real. Look at things with balance. None of that makes any sense. And if the left is the side that's telling you that this person should be censored, like they're never supposed to be anti-free speech. The ADL.
Man, very interesting. So you can see why that caught my attention. We're going to go over to this next Joe Rogan clip, play a little more about this whole thing. Let's get into it.
I don't want to hate you. I don't want to hate the messenger.
Right.
The View is not an effective way.
There were two guys that were put in prison for this. The one that was released was already living on house confinement and only had 2 years left. The other guy is still in prison and will be there till.
This is the January 6th people?
No, the Kids for Cash.
Oh.
Yeah, but who can, number one?
Okay,
There's more than one guy.
He's an evil person.
Yeah, he's clearly.
This is a clearly terrible, evil person.
So what exactly are you saying, Jamie? There was two other people that were involved?
The one that Biden had his sentence wiped out only had less than 2 years left and was already in home confinement. The other guy is still in prison.
I see.
And was not let out.
But
early.
still, the guy's at home confinement for 2 years. I think he can do another 2 years in his house.
He could do another 2 years in his house or go back to the jail that he put children into.
Yes, I mean, it should be like...
Jamie is working for
I was confused. I was like, that's up. Why would you let the guy out?
I'm kidding.
Two of them, one of them still in jail.
There's a lot of other stuff. There's people that were Chinese spies that were on that list.
Yeah, how about his son?
That makes sense to me.
Well,
if you have a kid, you get it. You f***ed up. You're going to die. You don't want him to go to jail.
Well, he hates everybody.
If you had this
Biden hates
magic pen,
everyone now.
not only that, okay, they just ousted you in a coup. All right, but you're still the president for at least another month and a half. Of course, then, even though you said you wouldn't do it, once they ousted him,
you're going to do it.
Because all the times of him saying that he wasn't going to pardon his son, wasn't he still the president? I mean, maybe if they let him be the president for a second term, maybe he wouldn't pardon.
Can you imagine explaining to him the aliens? Because he doesn't know. Someone's got some in the deep, deep, deep state, like the bowels of the deep state.
You haven't heard him talk about the drones?
Please. Do you have it?
Wonderful. See if you can find it. Biden addresses the drones. It is.
Oh, that's for another episode. But Very interesting what's going on. I definitely agree with Joe and Tim. This guy should just do time. End of story. He should just be doing time. There should be no even considering about this whole thing. I'm just going to go through some information I found while I was trying to learn about this whole thing, because honestly, it's something that I may have heard in passing a while ago, but never really dug deep into. You have somebody here saying Joe Biden pardons his son, thousands of others, 37 of 40 federal death row inmates, which is 100% true. And then also Joe Biden, no one is above the law. Remember that? Remember when Joe was saying no one is above the law? Well, there's some people that are above the law in Joe Biden's book, and it happens to be the most vile people that you could possibly find. You know, I went through a little list of everyone he was pardoning. Obviously, it's death row, so, you know, there's going to be some wild people on that list, obviously, but it was just people who kept families captive, murder, killing, this, that. It was just that over and over again. You know, it was just, I don't get it. You know, he could take the opportunity to pardon the people that were involved with J6. That's a big thing. Like, why not do that instead? Instead, it was just all of these very violent people. And he said the reason that he was doing it is because he was appealing to his conscience, like his conscience. He couldn't let, you know, these things just happen. It's like there's people who are in jail for years because of J6 without trial, 1,000 days. You know, Joe Rogan just interviewed someone that was in jail with someone who had done more than 1,000 days. No trial at all. They're just sitting, and they don't even have a sentence. So it was a little ridiculous that Joe Biden decided to do that. But what has he not done? When has he not done something that was ridiculous? Literally every month for 4 years, it's just been ridiculous. Whether he's falling upstairs, eating ice cream, just doing terrible things all day. Now, when we talk about the whole Chinese spy thing, I'm sure you guys have heard about that. I know I heard about that. You know, Benny Johnson posted about it. Biden pardoned 39 people, including Chinese spies and individuals. Damn, I wasn't supposed to have that word on there. I'm going to have to have that word blurred now. All right, let's go from 720. All right. I got to write that stuff down for the editor. You guys know him, Hank. Let's go here. So in reality, what Community Notes actually brought up was these 3 Chinese spies that everybody was talking about that Biden pardoned. Apparently, they received communications of their sentences in November of 2024 for a prisoner swap with China in exchange for the release of 3 Americans. They were not pardoned and are not part of the group of pardons that were announced by Biden for nonviolent offenders. So, actually, he didn't pardon any Chinese spies and one sick individual. So, just wanted to let you guys know that. Now, let's get into this whole weird kids for cash thing that these judges were doing. Now, the kids were all juveniles and they were being sold. Okay, and the reason people are saying sold is because the judges got money to give these kids longer sentences and send them to certain prisons that were for profit. So let's just hear a little bit about that.
For kids conspiracy, juvenile judges sold kids to private prisons in exchange for $2.8 million in bribes. Here's how it worked. Luzerne, Pennsylvania, like most places, had a public juvenile detention facility. But an attorney, Robert Powell, and a developer, Robert Mercer, saw an opportunity to make a lot of money if they could convert the public one into a private one and then got paid for every single juvenile delinquent that was sent there. And so the first thing they had to do was to get rid of the existing one. So they contacted 2 judges. First was Mark Clavarella, and then the second one was Michael Conahan. These 2 men were judges who ran the juvenile justice system in that county. And they persuaded them, with the help of a $2.1 million bribe, to get rid of the existing facility so they could build this new private one. But once they got to prison, now they needed inmates. You see, if a public juvenile detention facility is empty, that's a good thing. That means that the system is working. But if a private one is, that means that the stockholders are losing money. They needed a steady supply of lots of juvenile delinquents. And so they told the judge that for every child that they sent to their facility, the judges would receive a kickback. Motivated by profit, the judges turned their courtrooms into a mockery of justice, just a mill to get as many kids into the system as quickly as they can. They often denied them due process. Over 280 of them never ever talked to a lawyer. Most of them were handcuffed at the middle of the night and taken away without any contact with their parents, and for small little things. One kid was handcuffed and sent off because he had made fun of his vice principal on his MySpace. In total, these two judges sent over 2,400 juveniles to juvenile detention facilities in exchange for $2.8 million in bribes. And this went on for years. A number of complaints were filed between 2004 and 2008 with the Pennsylvania Judicial Conduct Board, but they didn't investigate any of them. In 2008, the Philadelphia-based Juvenile Law Center filed a petition with the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania saying you've got to look into what's going on, and the Supreme Court did nothing. But then came another terrible judge, Ann Lucata, who was just a horrible human being. She would order her staff to run all kinds of personal errands for them. She showed obvious favor to lawyers that she had.
I tried to find the longer clip. I couldn't find it, but just that was a breakdown of what the judges were doing. But obviously there's a little more to that story. A bunch of disgusting individuals, obviously 2,400 kids in juvenile, $2.8 million. And the thing about it is, you could argue like, oh, well, these kids are doing bad things. But like the guy said, they were just getting a lot of trumped up charges. Literally just, a kid made fun of his vice principal. I believe he said vice principal on MySpace. And that got him sent to juvie. You know how crazy that is? You know how much stuff I did in high school? Holy. I can't believe that. Making fun of a teacher? We made fun of teachers every day. That was 30% of what you did in school, was make fun of teachers. And then you get sent to juvie over it. Absolutely crazy. One mother was really mad. I'm sure all the parents were really angry, of course, but one made sure to actually voice herself in front of the people way back when this all happened. Here it is.
Actions. You need to be. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's good. He's himself in the heart. You scumbag.
A heartbroken, really an outraged mother lashing out at former Judge Mark Civarella. Now, her son, an all-star wrestler, killed himself after being sent to a juvenile detention facility for a minor drug offense. Now it turns out that Civarella was accepting money to do that, sent kids away for cash. The former judge was convicted yesterday of 12 counts, including racketeering and money laundering. The judge remains free while he awaits sentencing.
Actions. You need to.
Absolutely crazy. I'm going to show you another clip. Little different angle, but she's yelling at the people once again because, obviously you're going to be following this whole thing around if you're that woman.
This is not a cash for kids case, and we hope somebody
it
starts
wasn't
getting
because
the
my
message.
kid's not here anymore. My kid's not here. He's dead because of him. He ruined my fucking life. I'd like him to go to hell and rot there forever.
Man, come on.
No, you know what he told everybody in court? They need to be held accountable for their actions. You need to be. Do you remember me? Do you remember me? Do you remember my son? An all-star wrestler? He's good. He's himself in the heart. You ruined my f***ing life. I hate him.
This is not a cash for kids case, and we
So obviously she was very, very upset and obviously still is. This is that woman years later as this is all happening with Joe Biden actually pardoning one of these guys. And this is just her, telling her story about her son and everything like that. And then I got another clip of her reaction to the actual pardon. Let's go.
Son did nothing more than anything that most of us as, kids did, experimenting and living his life and making mistakes that we usually all get to just learn and evolve and grow from. He did nothing more than be at an underage drinking party with tons of other kids, but he was caught. And he went in front of Judge Chivarella because this is the process that they had. And you're trusting in this system that, this is, the good for our kids. And I was told this is, just to scare him, to get him back on track, to make sure, everything is well. And he went into the county juvenile detention center for a month. And in that time, he wanted nothing more. He understood and what he was missing in his life. He just wanted to get back home. He wanted to get back. It was his senior year about to begin. He wanted to get back into his wrestling training, just get back into his life. And I had the teachers, I had his coaches, myself talking and sending letters to the judge's chambers of my son's character and explaining all of this. And I was 100% sure there was no doubt in my mind that when we went in front of that judge, my son was coming home with me that day, but that didn't happen. And he was sent to that juvenile detention center in Pittston. And I believe it was like 8 months. He lost his senior year. He never had the chance to wrestle again. Any chance that he had for a scholarship. He came out of there very bitter, very angry, pent up with anger. He couldn't look you in the eye. I don't know what happened in that facility. My son was a very big, strong, proud boy. And he came out broken. I don't know what happened. I try to not think about what happened, and he would never talk about it, but something not good happened to him in there. And it snowballed. He just never recovered. He got into a fight and had to go back into the court system. And actually those charges were dropped. They were not found. But because he was on probation from Judge Chivarella, he sent him away again, even though he was found not guilty of those charges. And this time he was sent to their other for-profit center, which was 5 hours from our home. It was in Western Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. And he did a year there, and then was released if he would do this boot camp, which he excelled, and they couldn't talk more good about my son and his character and the discipline that he showed. But it just never ended. It just snowballed. It changed him. It broke him. It stole his youth, his childhood. He would never, ever recover. And it just became too much. And he shot himself in the heart. And we were fighting this. We knew something was not right. We could not get into that courtroom with media. Anything that was trying to be done was shot down. Judge Lakuta tried to step up, and she was ousted and thrown out of the court. These judges had this power, and they did what they wanted, and they started their own for-profit centers. And at the time, Judge Conahan was the president judge. So he appointed his friend, Michael Chivarella, as the juvenile judge, who he knew would send these kids into the system, and they funneled them in and collected the money for every bed that was filled. And until this money line was seen, that's when the feds stepped in and all of this came
And it was
out.
exposed that they were getting kickbacks from these for-profit jails. Sandy, I wanted to go back to when you confronted the former judge, now jail, Judge Chivarella, outside the courtroom after your son's sentencing.
Man, so absolutely wild. That is her story. Here is her reaction to the fact that these gentlemen, these shouldn't even say gentlemen, these should be jailbirds for life without possibility of parole. You know, I really do think that should be it. I don't think it should be a long sentence. You know, you're sending people to jail that didn't need to go to jail. and the things that happen in there. Like if you're a young person or any person and you're not built like that, you're not actually somebody who's like a bad dude, and then you go to jail, you're definitely not built for the way people are in there. And then the unspeakable things that can and more than likely do happen to you, and I would say happens more in juvie than it does in federal prisons. Actually, in federal prisons, they have a little more control. They're men. They're still very violent, but they have rules. In juvie, they don't have any of that. They don't have any rules. They don't have any scruples. They don't know about that. They're that young. So let's just listen to this.
When you saw that this judge, who was convicted for essentially sending kids to jail longer so that the prison, the private facilities could make more money, when you heard that Joe Biden pardoned this guy, commuted this guy's sentence, what did you think?
I was filled with every kind of emotion, hurt, defeat. Now that I've had more time to process it, it's more of anger.
Yeah.
And just, it's just this is very deeply upsetting and personal. Joe Biden came here and campaigned multiple times that he was, Joe Scranton, he was one of us. He knew of our struggles and he cared about our community and our kids and our families. And that is just absolutely not true. He is not one of us. We have an expressway named after him. I have to drive down and look at it every day, the President Biden Expressway and the Biden Street.
Yeah.
That's what I want done. I mean, there needs to be reform of how the overseeing of how these applicants are chosen for these pardons. And what I want to see is his name removed, because that's just, another slap in the face, another injustice.
Man, absolutely wild. I didn't know that freeway existed. That's terrible. And you know what? I love that she said that near the end of, he made himself seem like he was one of us, and he's not one of us. That's his legacy. The man who for decades lied and tried to shapeshift and fill this container of the everyday man, and what was exposed by the time he left office as president is that he was not one of us. He did terrible things to the country. That's the legacy that he's going to have. Selling border wall, letting people like this judge get off a little easier. Like Jamie said, it wasn't a full, but whatever his punishment was supposed to be, it should just be in full. He should just have to do every single day of whatever. And the fact that it was reduced to anything is just crazy. And one guy stays and one guy gets left out. They should both just stay. That's it. So that's what his actual legacy is going to be. Just hands down the worst president that we've ever seen. Check the history books. I don't think there's anyone worse. I really don't. The only person that could be worse is Obama. And I think he's head and shoulders worse than Obama. Just terrible. And some people say that's, this is Obama's third term or something like that. Your fourth term even, So, I don't know, man. Sad story, definitely. Again, it's Christmas, as you guys know. So, be happy. You see a situation like that, you got to be happy if you have family at all, even if they're being annoying because it's Christmas and you got to be around them a little longer than you're used to. Be very happy that they're there. Be very happy they're around. Be very happy that you get to communicate with them, even if it's just a call or text or anything like that. Be grateful for the situation that you're in, because that mom right now is in a different situation. Not just driving on that freeway reminds her of that, but every time there's a holiday, every time there's a birthday, for sure today on Christmas, it's just a constant reminder that she lost something that is just incredibly all important to her. And, you know, even if you are somebody who's alone on Christmas, which is why I always love to make a video for Christmas, so you have at least something here. If you're alone, you got to be happy that you have your life, because that one kid, you know, that turned into a man that was going through some trauma, going through some hard things that he didn't want to speak about. And again, those heinous acts happen way more in juvie. So sadly, that's probably what happened to him. You know, at least you're not in his situation, and you have your life. You know, you got to be happy for that at the very least. If you didn't get a gift, this is your gift. You kidding me? Screenshot this. It's me in this hat. You kidding me? This is not going to happen again. This happens once a year. And this is only because I couldn't find my Santa hat. All right? Or else I would have been wearing the Santa hat. But I always like to do something for Christmas for the people who don't have any. Because for the longest time, before I met my wife, you know, I always had my mom. My mom was always around. She doesn't really celebrate things like this. But, you know, you could always say Merry Christmas to somebody, and that was always great. But I have always been kind of alone and not really celebrating until I met my wife. And now I have my wife and I have a family, and, you know, but I remember what it was like to be freezing and to be alone and to not have anything to look forward to. So I just wanted to bring you guys at least one episode on this day. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in all of these years. You know, the anniversary of the podcast is in October, but the holidays are always a special time. I think it was last year, I did episodes with my wife around holidays, New Year's. This year, I'll probably do some with Hank. Maybe the wife will even step in for a second, get on the microphone like she used to. I'll ask her about that. But Merry Christmas to everybody. And it is Christmas. I know, happy holidays. Yeah, no. It's Christmas. It's okay. Okay? And it's not Xmas. No. It's Christmas. Sorry. You got to deal with that. Okay? I don't make the rules, right? You celebrate baby Jesus, all right? And if you don't celebrate it, cool, but you have to. You have to. Every time you see a Christmas tree, okay, you got to give it one of these. I'm kidding. But happy holidays to whoever is celebrating other things, but we all know what time it is in December, okay? We all know what time it is, okay? Anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.